Hey there, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I'm going to be doing something fun. You know, sometimes you see packaging and you just think, oh, that is unique, that is different, that is creative. I want to highlight that packaging today. I have some brands here and some palettes in my eyeshadow collection which have just really stood out to me as having just done an excellent job with their packaging, and I think that they deserve accolades for that. So let's dive into these. If I remember to, I'll link all the palettes below in the description box if they're still available. Some of them are definitely discontinued, but not all, and it's going to be a good time looking at some beautiful things. I think I will batch these by brand and just talk about the brand in general and what they do so well with their packaging and show you some examples. There are a couple of brands in here where I have several palettes of theirs, and I'm not going to show you everything. Just know in general that they do a great job. Let's talk about Nomad, because Nomad was oh my goodness. Okay, Nomad Cosmetics is a destination themed indie brand. They have very nice eyeshadow formula, good mattes, good shimmers, good color stories, very, I think, usable and I was gonna say sensical, the kinds of color stories that make sense. Like, they just seem to go, oh yep, that works, you know. Now and then they'll shake things up a bit, like with their Speakeasy palette, which is an unusual and unexpected color story, but on the whole I think that their color stories just make sense. So I want to talk first about, okay, I'll start off with the one that gave me all the feels from the very beginning, the Nomad palette that I pined for so long because it was just perfection. This is the Hudson Valley palette. I think it was autumn of 2022, maybe 2023. It's not new, it's an older palette. This palette is quintessential fall. It is such beautiful packaging. This outer box, and this was given to me by a subscriber because she knew I was longing for it and she sent it my way. So kind. This outer box it kind of feels like a paper bag, maybe more like linen paper bag or linen or something that's like a nice journal cover, like a moleskin sort of journal. And then we've got this embellishment that's not raised, it's just slightly foiled, you know. And the gold leaf on this beautiful autumnal color story, just makes me drool. On the back they do have something similar and highlight the colors. I'm not going to do any swatching or anything in this video because I don't have the time, but I do want to show you the other part of the packaging. It just comes to life. It's the same concept, just a little bit less dull, I think. But again, you've got sort of a paper bag, moleskin leather sort of feel, not quite as soft as moleskin, with all the same details, and it just, the gold stands out so beautifully. And then what I really like is when a palette's packaging reflects the inner color story, which you definitely get. Again, it's just perfection. It's dreamy, the packaging carries through, and like the design carries through. I love it. Nomad consistently does an excellent job with their packaging. This is another one that struck me. This is the Fuji 5 Lakes. It was when they went to Mount Fuji in Japan. I mean, this alone is gorgeous, right? And I think that most people within this community know exactly what palette, like what I'm going to be talking about in the texture in a minute. This is not textured, this is just standard glossy box. Again, the same designs with the gold leaf and whatnot. Pretty, it's pretty. It's a pretty little painting, right? But then the packaging itself. This feels like a canvas. It's raised, it's textured, and it goes through on all sides. It's a little smoother here, but it's on the back as well, like a canvas. You know, it feels like there's acrylic paint on here or oil paint. It's not heavy, it doesn't have a lot of weight to it, but it does feel substantial enough that it doesn't feel like trash, you know, it feels nice. This was so striking to me. I hadn't seen this anywhere before. I really think they got people's attention with this one, and nobody was surprised because Nomad does this very well. And again, the color story is reflected inside. And inside, because it was Mount Fuji, you can see you've got the yellowy shades here with the red around the edges. Here's red around the edges with the yellows. You got the blue in the center with the water. The mountain itself with the peak is a sparkly shade. You've got the mountain. It's just so well thought out and cohesive. And then the last Nomad palette I will point out to you guys is the Polar Express, which was their Christmas release. This outer box is all foggy and fuzzy and blurred, but then you've got the actual cutout of the train with the smoke. And then they've done this with a few palettes, and then you reveal the entire picture inside, and it's slightly textured. It looks kind of like an old-fashioned photograph maybe, or a photo with snow actively falling. It's a little bit grainy, a little bit vintage-ish. It's lovely. Now, this is not textured, this is just smooth, but you've got the consistency of the Nomad's packaging across the board, and the color story is just what you would expect based on the design and the colors. They do a great job. You know, They just do a great job. And that's what I want to highlight today. I'm planning on doing a little bit of a declutter, and once that's done, I will officially own just one palette from Glamlight, and the one that I want to highlight today, just to give Glamlight credit where credit is due, is their Betty Boop. Now, what Glamlight has done well is the lenticular effect in their packaging. They do it a lot. Now they have all their horror themes and stuff. I'm not interested in any of those. But this lenticular effect where the picture changes, do you see? There are at least 2 images on their, sometimes 3 I think, but at least 2 different images in their packaging. And I don't know what the expense is of this, but Glamlight's pretty affordable. It's just so cool, you know? It's like, it takes me back to my 90s childhood where you could get the little lenticular bookmarks, and it was so cool. It felt so special, so different to have like 2 pictures, and it was colorful, it was pretty, and I have to give them credit because this is creative. This is creative. Now, again, the packaging reflects what we see on the inside, although I wish that they'd done a black background instead of the red, but generally these are the colors that you might expect. The problem with the red background, as I've said 100 times, is that it makes me feel like the palette's red, and it's not. This palette is actually a lot more varied than you think. There are only 2 true red shades, and the rest are berry and black and pinkies and purples and a sparkly black. It's not a red palette. But I digress. That's not the point of today's video. The point is the packaging. What's Up Beauty has 3 eyeshadow palettes on the market. Monsoon might be discontinued, don't remember. But they also have other things in their line of products, and those also have beautiful packaging. I can only speak to the palettes themselves. I have owned all 3, but now I just own 2. This is the Geodes palette. I mean, what a great name, and what a great perfect encapsulation of the name. It just looks like a geode, and this is all very glossy, but then you've got the texture on top, and it feels like, I mean, it kind of feels like a rock because you can see the texture is these little crystals. There's no texture on the back, it's just smooth on the back, but the glossiness and the color and the effects, except for the crystals, carry through to the back. And it reflects the inner color story pretty well. I think this is more neutral than the cover reflects generally, and you have, you know, a few pops of the green and whatnot that aren't in the outer packaging, but you do have the packaging continue through here, and it's just, this is compact, it's cute, it feels sturdy, it's got beautiful, I mean, the way that they do the rose gold edging, it just feels luxe to me. It's very, very good for travel. They're not really brittle where they'll break in transit. And then the one that caught me completely off guard, and I was like, oh, look at that, when I first saw this packaging revealed, was of course the Dragon Eye. So the outer box is beautiful. I mean, look at these colors. They're just dragon mermaid colors, right? The greens and the purples, and it sort of glows, and you've got the scales that continue on the back, but it's more blacked out for the text. Beautiful. This box is soft touch. You do feel a tiny bit of embossing here, and the way that the gold stands out on the darkness is gorgeous. But then the inside, again, it's not a surprise. Most people within this community are familiar with this packaging. Look at this. Again, it's textured. So this is soft touch, and then the dragon himself, he's textured, he's raised, embossed. Beautiful detailing and colors, and the back is all pretty smooth. But the way, I mean, look at the detail in the eye. It's so well done, and it beautifully shows us the color story on the inside with the greens and the purples and the goldy tones and the rich warmth. I think that we could probably have a green matte, or 1 or 2 more greens in here to reflect the green that's happening here. This is more of a purple heavy palette, but it complements the green nicely. And I think that this is a great way of doing purple and green without it feeling like Halloween. As far as their other palettes, yes, well, Monsoon was really nice too. I declared that one because of color story. But the packaging, from what I remember, was again soft touch. It just felt like good quality. It had the beautiful gold edges, perfect, you know, the exact same size, and everything was the same. And they do have other, I mean, I was struck by the beauty of their highlighters. What are the Serengeti highlighters, I think? It's just a brand that clearly gives you the attention to detail that makes you feel like, oh, this is an experience. I have to talk about Uden Eye because I've always extolled the virtues of Uden Eye's design team. They have always done a fantastic job with their packaging. It's a Swedish themed indie brand. I believe they're made in China, but they're Swedish themed. And so sometimes they give you a design aesthetic that is so it feels so Swedish and Scandinavian that I can't unsee it. Now, my grandmother's second husband was from Sweden, and so some of those designs, I still have clear memories from my childhood of little bits of furniture in their house or decor or artwork or whatever. Even things like album covers, you know. So these two palettes, the ever beloved Christmas and Christmas Eve palettes, they remind me, and my sister pointed this out, they remind me of rose mailing, that beautiful, ornate, filigree, floral, colorful design. Uden Eye has very busy packaging, but very intricate, very detailed. There's lots going on. You could actually just take some time out of your day and look at it like artwork, because it's creative, it's different, it's unexpected. They have lots of little elements all over the place. Like, I didn't pull out the Norns palette, but I mean, I could. The Norns palette has the three sisters and they weave the web of destiny, something like that. And throughout the whole artwork of the packaging, you see these little designs that are, some are kind of hidden or like back a few layers, but they're still there. And Uden Eye does that pretty much across the board. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot to look at. But the colors, again, represent what you see on the inside. They always have this very detailed and intricate border. It's not always like flowery or curled and burled woods and very intricate or elegant or anything. It's just, it's busy and it's active. It's very articulate. There's a lot going on with the Uden Eye packaging, and those are totally different feel from, say, this, which is the Sea Talk palette when they collaborated with Lauren May Beauty. What I want to point out about, oh yeah, and I knew that there was one I was forgetting. This is the palette I used today. By the way, today's eyeshadow look, if you like it, is linked above and carded above and linked in the description box. What I wanted to point out about these, first off, even though they're so completely different from the Christmas palettes, right? They're completely different, but they still sort of have the same feel. Still an artistic, creative, very busy, very active feeling. So although they're very, very varied, they feel like they belong still. And I have to give Uden Eye credit, because when they do a collaboration, they take the face of the person they're working with and they incorporate it into the palette. So this is Tina from the Fancy Face, and it really does, you know, it really does look like Tina. Their artist does a good job. This is Lauren May Beauty, and I think that on the whole, they did a good job. I mean, it's not absolutely perfect. It's more an artist's interpretation, and they've also morphed it to still work within their whole aesthetic. But they take a representation, a likeness of the person they're working with, and they embody that person on the palette as part of the packaging. And I mean, just, I'm like, oh, color story, sorry. Do we have a sneak peek of how gorgeous this is? This is like my favorite Uden Eye palette. But look at all the details. So you can see the line of water, because Lauren is she sort of has her elbows, I think, in the sand. Yeah, she sort of has her elbows in the sand at the base of the palette, and then the stream of water is coming up and around, and then all of the details with the sea creatures and the fish and the animals and the wildlife and the coral and seashells, everything. So you've got those foundations, but then on top of that is another layer of like iridescent or foiled. Can you see the foiled stars and dots and little bits of sparkle? You can see sparkle in Lauren's eyes. Same thing on the back here. Like, for example, here I see the water, I see the wave. Behind it, I see a turtle. And then on top of everything, I see little pops of sparkle. And so you've got layers and layers of details. There's so much care put into it, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And finally, from Uden Eye, again, totally different, completely different vibe, completely different inspiration, still unique though, and still kind of almost their signature look, enough that it works with everything else they sell. We've got Stone and Rock, part of the Yours Divine collection, and this one, like this outer sleeve, is kind of textured, maybe like a linen, or if you've ever done cross stitch, like a cross stitching kind of fabric. And then this is embossed, and a couple of these stones, but not all of them, a couple of them are raised, and you can see the face of the woman, and her hair is just flowing in the motion. You see the motion in the picture. Same thing on the front, except now more of the stones, but it's still not all. More of them are raised, but they're not raised as much. Like this stone, these stones here are raised more than this one right here. And so it still just feels like layers of design. Do you remember when Nomad released the Royal Europe palette? and everyone was agog over the way that they designed the packaging with people were describing it as layers of laser cut and sort of just stacked and getting all these different depths and dimension. That's kind of like what Uden Eye does. They have multiple layers within their designs, and even though it's pretty busy, it would be busier if everything were on one layer, just piled. But instead they give you some transparency and some prominence, and this is in front of that, but that's behind that. It's just lovely. This carries through as well. There's a little bit of embossing here, and you still see their signature little sparkles and stars in their own style and in a way that works with the palette. And then inside, gorgeous color story. Love this one. Love it. And we still see all those details carried through. Okay, I want to talk about this Kidos palette, not because I like the visual effect, but because I like the packaging itself. This is their Sashimi City from what I think was the Futurism collection, and I have to give props for this. It's so stinking satisfying. It's very compact, it's very tidy, it's very, oh, look at that, you know, the color story, like, I'm not talking about the color stories really, it's a pretty quiet, slightly boring palette, but I just like this and give them credit for creating something that is so satisfying. I mean, I don't care about the ASMR stuff, but okay, moving on. 2 more palettes to mention. I want to talk about ColourPop. Generally, I think that ColourPop does a good job with the actual palettes, like the design. But usually it's just a picture on cardboard, on, you know, like a flat, like they put care into the image, but the rest of the packaging doesn't stand out, we'll say. But this is an exception. This is their Limoncello palette, long discontinued, much beloved by people who love neutrals and me who loves Italy. I think that this packaging is tip-top. It's so gorgeous. First off, it's magnetic, so it has some weight to it. It has the larger pans. This might have been the first time they issued the larger pans. This one is in a BYOP currently. It's got a big mirror, but let's talk about the packaging because that's what today's video is about. This is soft touch. There's a lot of embossing. This is embossed. This is embossed. These fruits are embossed. You have some little gold flicks right here, little bits of gold that just catch the eye and then disappear. One of the best things is that the citrus has texture where you can sort of feel each of the little membranes of bursts of juice within the lemon. So good. And then this lemon, you can feel the rind. The texture is different on the rind. On the back, each of these circles labeling the shades are embossed as well, embossed, and the same thing goes. And then again with the layering in the background, you have this beautiful tile work. I think the palette itself could reflect the packaging a bit better, like it's mainly browns. And this is not mainly browns. I mean, where are the browns? But anyway, inside, there's a leatherette sort of feel. So again, it's kind of mimicking the texture of the outside of the fruit or leather. It's lovely. It's just lovely. This one makes me happy. I would put this on display probably before I use it. It's not a color story which thrills me, but the packaging, I can't stop. And finally, let's talk about Pat McGrath. I have the Moonlit Seduction palette. This is her Mothership 10. Now, I don't like this packaging. I'm going to just say it. It's not my style at all. I think it's a little bit gaudy and kind of obnoxious and way flashier than I personally prefer. But she's distinctive because this is creative. You know, it's the face, and then you've got some gold Roman numerals indicating this is the 10th one, and then you've got all the drama. Like, there's so much drama, visual artistry here, which I have to give credit for, because some people maybe wouldn't put the time in or the effort in, and I think that it might be somewhat related to the fact that Pat McGrath is a luxury brand. So you're paying a high price, you want the full experience, and the palette itself is just black, but it's a heavy palette. It's a heavy lacquer packaging, and then they give you this box with the cute little connecting point and the picture, which is very dramatic, very bold, very distinctive. I mean, if I saw this anywhere, I would go, oh, that's Pat McGrath. Now, there's no texture. This is all smooth. Well, this is raised actually. And at the end of the day, it's just a cardboard box with a cool seal, but the design is unique and it's different, and it's so distinctive that if anybody tried to copy them, they'd be instantly called out as a copycat. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Comment below if there are brands or even specific palettes that stand out to you as having really distinctive or unique packaging as a whole. There were some that I looked at in my collection where I just love I love, for example, Cosmic Brushes. I, for the most part, love their packaging. I love the pictures that they choose. Winter Wonderland, Undergrowth, Serenity, Muse. I love the pictures. And I love the soft touch packaging, and I love the rounded corners. But at the end of the day, that's standard packaging, soft touch. Rounded corners are a little bit more unique, but not really different or really creative. They're just a different choice. And as far as the pictures, which are gorgeous, they're just pictures, you know? They're beautiful, but they're just pictures. There's not a lot of artistry or an artist creating artwork for the product, or a huge amount of creativity or anything, you know what I mean? So even though I love that packaging, it didn't make it into today's video because while it's lovely, it's not standing out as being really unique, creative, different, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Of course, there are other brands I could have mentioned, but I didn't have samples in hand to show you. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about packaging in general. Do you feel that it changes the experience? I have found that the packaging does make a difference for me. I want to enjoy the whole process, like choosing my palette, looking at my palette, holding it, touching it, feeling it, and playing with the eyeshadows inside. So even if it's got great shadows, if it has packaging, which I don't like, I'm less inclined to use it. And that's just something I've found over time. Anyway, I enjoy chatting with you. Love to hear from you all the time. Be sure to check my description box for information, today's eyeshadow look, other links, playlists, suggestions. If I remember to, I will link these palettes below, whichever are available. I don't know which ones are, but I'll do the best I can do. And I look forward to chatting with you in my next video. Thanks for being here, guys. Like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll chat with you soon. Bye.